Hi everyone, I'm Meghna and I'm a TA for the course CSE 6242 Data and Vision Analytics, which is conducted by Professor Polo Chow at Georgia Institute of Technology. In this tutorial, we'll be going over all the steps for homework 3 question 3, which is analyzing large amounts of data with Pig on AWS. Specifically, I'll be going over all the steps for AWS Setup Guidelines to get you started with this question. We'll be going over 8 steps from creating your AWS account to debugging your Pig scripts. So if you want to skip over to a particular section of this tutorial, just look at the description given below the video. So let's get started with actually creating your AWS account. So there are two steps to this procedure, which is first creating your Amazon Web Services account and then linking that to your Amazon Educate account, which will enable you to get $100 credit, which can be used for this homework. So let us go ahead and create the Amazon AWS account first. So enter your credentials and log in as a new user. Enter your name, your email ID twice, your password, and go ahead and go to the next step. Select a personal account. Alright, so now verify the PIN. Select a basic plan. Don't select anything else that requires you to pay a lot of amount. So once I'm done with that, okay, so let's complete the sign up. You don't actually have to enter any further details. Okay, so there you go. I've completed my sign up and I'll sign in using my new account that I've created. So once I'm here, I have completed my initial few steps. And that implies, so yeah, now I've created my AWS account. So this is the next step where you get your $100 credit, and how you go about doing that is go to this link that I've opened right here. And I'll be joining AWS Educate by going over these steps. So join the AWS Educate today. So once I click that button, I need to select apply for AWS Educate for students. Okay. Next, select I'm a student and click next. So enter all your details. Okay, so one thing I should have mentioned is that ensure that you've used your Georgia Tech ID throughout the entire tutorial. So I'll be entering a couple of details. Okay, so at this point, it's extremely essential that you enter your Georgia Tech ID. Even if you haven't entered a Georgia Tech account before for your Amazon portal, that's all right. But at this point, for Amazon AWS Educate account to be created, you need to enter an account that is issued by your institution. So over here, say this is my email ID, which is issued by Georgia Tech. You all should ensure that you enter your email ID here. So you can also create your initial account using your Georgia Tech email ID, but if you haven't, that's all right. But ensure that at this point, you enter the right email ID. So once I'm done with that, you need to add your Amazon account ID. So you can, as I had shown, access that in your account. Okay, so I can go over to my email. Okay, so I've gotten the email verification. I'm not out of far. Okay, so once you've completed this, your application will be under review, and only when it's approved, you'll get an email with a code that will help you obtain $100 of credit, and this will be given in the tutorial in step 5, where you'll actually redeem your credit. So ensure that you get this email. Okay. So you'll also continuously receive some emails regarding your setup, and ensure you just retain all of that in case you need to refer back to them. We'll be going over the next step, that is creating your storage buckets on S3. So basically throughout the entire procedure, you will be required to use 3 resources. That's your compute resources, that is EC2. Then you have your storage, which is S3, and where you finally analyze your data and you run your scripts, that's on EMR. That's Elastic MapReduce. So first, we need to be able to access data and upload our script. And that's done using your storage buckets on S3, which will help you save your outputs and also your logs of whatever MapReduce jobs that you want to run. Logging out of my previous account, and I'll be logging into my Georgia Tech account now. Okay, so let's go to S3. If you're unable to find any of the services, you can always look for it as well. So say you can just directly access it. Okay, so now I'm going to follow the steps given in the tutorial as we go by. So we've created the account, and now we select create S3 buckets. So click on S3 under all services storage, and now we create a bucket. The bucket name would be CSC username and login. CSC 4246242 Natraj 3 login. Alright, and then I select US standard, and I do not set up logging, and I just go ahead and create this. Okay, so I've finished creating the logging bucket. Now I create another bucket. So as you can see, the bucket has been created over here. So now I create another bucket. So the bucket that we created initially is just for logging purposes. Now I'll be creating a bucket where you'll actually upload your script. So where you upload your script and you get your output. So all your input and output will be in this bucket that I'll be creating right now. That is CSE6242. Charge. I'll select US standard, and here I'll select logging. Okay. And once I ensure that I've selected selected my logging bucket, you don't actually need to have any target prefix. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not creating this bucket. Hopefully there's no other bucket with this name. Okay, yeah. So now we're able to create the bucket, and this is linked to the logging bucket. So in this bucket, I'll upload my input script through this option where I can upload and add files. And I'll also be able to put all my output data into this folder. And any kind of logs that's generated during my jobs will be added to my in my logging folder. So these two are the only important folders that you need to know and you need to create. Okay, so once we're done with that, we'll go to step 3, which is creating a key value pair. So why do you need a key value pair? So when you run your jobs on EMR, you need to have a valid private and a public key for authentication purposes. So now let's go back to our dashboard and ensure that throughout the entire process, the region that you've selected is US East and Virginia. So if, for example, if I create my keys and access value pairs on one location, and I run my jobs on another location, or I have my data present in another location, there's going to be a lot of cost incurred because the servers located in these regions is what stores your data. So there'll be a data transfer charges that will be applied for each of your transaction, which will cost a huge overhead, and you might exceed your $100 credit. So ensure that you follow the instructions in terms of what location your data must be present. Your S3 buckets need to be in US standard, which was given in the instructions when you created the bucket. And throughout the rest of the tutorial, ensure that US East and Virginia is selected for the rest of the process. Okay, so let's create the key value pair. So you go to EC2 and there should be a link stating that you have 0 key value pair. So I've already created one, but because you would have logged in for the first time, there would be 0 key value pair. So now click on the key value pairs, the key pairs. So you'll be given an option to create the pair. Name your key pair as you wish, and upon providing a name, clicking on create, your private key would be created automatically, which you need to download and save. So you just simply need to do create a key pair and give 6242 2017. Tutorial. So I'm going to create. Okay, so once we're done creating this key value pair, save this file, and you can. So these are the instructions that would work on a Mac or any other Linux machine, but it might not work on Windows. So for Windows, you might have to go over a certain number of steps to be able to create your .pm file. And the steps are also given in the bottom of the tutorial that at the complete end. So you guys can just go over and look at that if you have a Windows machine. Okay, so let's go over to the next step. So these are instructions that actually tell you how you can use your private key that you just generated to be able to SSH into your cluster. But I'll go over this part later as well. Okay, so now let's go to the fourth step, that is get our access keys. Click on My Security credentials under your username on top. So how do we do that? Okay, let's go to My Security credentials. Okay, so you need to create your security credentials to be able to access your AWS resources. So you need to create your key value pairs to be able to SSH into a cluster that you're running. But to be able to access all your resources, you need your security credentials. So that's why you have two separate steps. So let's just go create our credentials. So create a new access pair. So you go here. Okay, so I need to delete one of them. Okay, let's just delete. Yeah. Okay, so I just deleted all my access keys that I have so I can create a new one. You're allowed to only store a maximum of 2 access keys. Okay, so that's it. You just click that and you'll be able to download a new. Okay. So I was able to download my access key. So yeah, you don't actually have to use this. This would be internally used for accessing your resources. Let's go over the next step. Redeem your free credit, of course. So now we go to step 5 where you redeem your free credit. So you can just go to my account, so you would have gotten an entire long promo code, which would probably look something like that. I'm not sure. But you enter your promo code, enter this code, and click redeem. And you'll be able to redeem your credits. So this was one of the credits that I redeemed recently. And you'll be able to see your $100 credit updated here. Okay, so that's it. So you ensure you redeem your credit and see that you have your total number of credits remaining. And this must be 100. So that's step 5. In case you have any issue with this, you should definitely reach out to the TAs and we'll help you out. Let's go to step 6. So sometimes what happens when you're running your jobs is that as you end up consuming credits, you might not be you might it's hard to keep a track of how you're spending your credits. So it's good to set up alerts so that every time you hit, say, a $50, once you consume $50, you want to get alerted. And if you hit 90 and 95 and so on up to 100, you can create email alerts so that you don't hit your $100 and spend a lot more. So okay, so let's go to my billing dashboard, and that should be present here. Yep. So go to my billing dashboard, go to preferences, and it's saying, okay, so yeah, the receive billing alerts is enabled. So if it's not, then just click on it. Okay, so it's enabled for me. So now you turn on custom alerts. Go back to your dashboard and click on search for CloudWatch. CloudWatch. Okay. So CloudWatch basically helps you to monitor, to create a lot of monitoring operations and metrics. So over here, we'll be creating a billing alarm. So click on the alarms on the left side and click on create alarm. In the CloudWatch metrics by category, okay, be on the right pane, select one. Okay, yeah, that is select metric. And in the drop down, select billing. Okay. And select the currency as USD. Okay. Set maximum and 6 hours in the drop down as shown in the image below. Okay, maximum 6 hours, that's set by default. So okay, billing USD maximum 6 hours, billing USD maximum 6 hours. So yes, we've checked that. Fill out the alarm details and click new list. Okay. What are the alarm details here? Okay, next. Oh yeah, so this is where we define the alarm. Let's do a halfway broke, spend $50 greater than 50, send a notification, new list. Okay. Halfway. So you can probably add a couple of email IDs if you want. And okay. When your alarm changes state. Okay, so whenever the state is alarm, ensure that you set your notification, set a name to the notification and set your email list. Okay, so now we're done with that. You can set up additional alarms if you want for different thresholds. I create the alarm. Okay, so you would get a notification on your Gmail. I'll just skip that part, but ensure that you just log in, confirm that, and you can come back. I would want to show that to you. So I okay. I think that should work. Okay. Let's check if we received. Okay, let's confirm this. So it has been confirmed, and I can view the alarm. And if the charges has been more than 50 for 6 hours, then you get notified about it. You can again set multiple um, thresholds for different time periods and different amounts, and ensure that you are notified if in case you end up spending a lot. However, as a suggestion, I would say that you should go to bills and expand all, and just have a view of all the expenditures that you've had uh, throughout. And this is the important part. So it's an extremely bad UI because your entire cost is just placed here. So a total of 14.86 of your credits have been used. So at any point, come to your bills. So my account to bills, and you need to see how much of your credits has been applied. A lot of times when you're running your code, this might not be updated. So ensure that once you've completed running your code, after a couple of hours, you just come and check what the status of this is. In case, you should depend upon your alarms, but just in case, you should come and check it as well. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's go to your step 7. That's actually running your MapReduce job. So the data sets have already been uploaded on the link that so on these buckets. So buckets can be thought of as folders. So they're not exactly folders, but just to be able to understand the concept of what buckets are, they're just like folders, and you can create multiple buckets one within the other. So this is your ngram, your bigram data set that you would be using, which has already been uploaded. And these are your data sets for Spring, which I won't be opening. So these two are the buckets that we created initially. So I'll go over my bucket where I'll be creating my input and my output scripts, and I will upload a sample input script that I created. So I'll also show you the contents of the script eventually. I can do that right away. Okay, so all that the script does is that it loads the data from the small data set that's given. That's a sample data set. You need to perform certain amount of computation, and then you store the final result. So here I'm storing my result that I get just by reading, and I store all of that data into my output folder. So over here, the path that I specify um, would be this path, and I create a dummy folder, a folder that doesn't exist. This will be automatically created by your EMR instance, and ensure that this folder does not exist. So as you can see, I have my CSE folder present that's created here, and it does not have this output dash small folder, and this will be created by AWS. If you have this folder existing, then your script would fail at the last step, and you wouldn't have any output to look at. So you would have just wasted a couple of minutes or hours running your code. So ensure that this folder does not exist. So now let's upload this script, which has my input data from what's given in the question, and has the final location of my output and all the steps that's in between. So I would upload that script here. Start upload. Okay, so my script's been uploaded. Yeah, so once I'm done with that, my next step is to come to the EMR page. So go to your dashboard again. Go to Elastic Map Reduce. Okay, I've created a number of clusters. Select Create Cluster and go to Advanced Options. Okay, so you just need to follow whatever is given in the screenshots below. Blindly follow what's given in the screenshots to complete your setup, which is what I'll be doing. So once you come to Advanced Options, ensure you only select Hadoop and Pig. So Hadoop is your distributed architecture that helps you actually run your MapReduce job, and Pig is the script that you'll be writing for running the job. Okay, so once you're done with that, you need to provide details about where your script is present, which we just uploaded a while ago. So select that you'd be creating a Pig script. So you need to enter the location of your script. You can just search for it, and that's my script. Yep, that one. Your output. Okay, so you need to specify the same folder that you had given in your script. So in my script, I'd given my CSE folder and my output small. So I'm ensuring that I've added the same folder, and this folder should not exist. And this is the input that was also provided in your tutorial. Okay, so your input would be from the tutorial, your output, sorry, from your script, your output would be from your script. Your script path is what I actually selected. And so let's just go over what the next steps are. Yeah, so I've entered all the details, and you need to select terminate. Okay, so what the step means is that once you run your big program, do you want the cluster to stop running if it fails? Do you want it to continue running if it fails, or do you want to cancel and wait if it fails? The suggested option is to terminate the cluster. But if you want to debug, if you want to be able to log into your cluster and check if there's some issues, you can do that, which is what I'm going to do. But the suggested recommended option is that you always terminate your cluster. So for now, I'm just going to select continue. Yeah, so you also need to ensure that you select auto terminate cluster after the last step. And I'm going to uncheck this only for this purpose, but ensure that you always check this button. So I'm unchecking this because I also want to show you how to debug it, which is what you all should do if you're beginning. If you've never written any script in Pig before. So yeah, so ensure you, so ensure you select continue and turn off, uncheck this box if you want to be able to debug your script. And select terminate and check this box if you don't want to debug it and you just want to run it. So this will ensure that in case if you leave your cluster running and you forget about it and you come back after a few days, you might have hundreds of dollars of bill, and you don't want that. So be careful when you select this option. Okay, so now let's come to the hardware configuration. You don't actually have to modify anything. In case there might be issues where you might get some it's not compatible, or it's not available in a certain region and so on. Ensure that it's US East 1B selected over here. You also probably can try changing to lower sizes. So these are the X large, and these are the smaller general purpose ones that would always work. but I'm not modifying anything in this page, and I'm just going over to the next option. So this is my logging folder. So I think you guys remember when we created the logging folder. So okay, sorry. Yeah. So I'm just going to select that. And apart from that, there is nothing else. Just leave everything as it is, and you don't have to modify anything. Okay, so now I'm also going to show you how to SSH into a machine. So if you want to be able to do that, you need to be able to select your key value pair. And that's why I said that you need to download and keep a copy of it. So I have a copy of it, and I want to SSH, so I'm going to select my EC2 key pair that I'll be using. Okay, and just once I select that, I can just create my cluster. And that's it. So now it's starting the cluster, and you might have to refresh the page a couple of times. So it goes under a certain number of steps. So it's provisioning it, it'll bootstrap it, and then it'll start running it. So unless and until the master and your core nodes are set up, so there's usually one master and so in this instance I selected one master and two cores, and it would take some time before they actually start running. And only when these two have been provisioned or set up, I would over here you'll be able to see um, the name of your server or your master server, into which you'll be able to SSH and be able to actually run your script there as well. You can I'll just go over that once it starts. Okay, so I might skip over a certain amount of time, just so I ensure that we get to the part where so this is the most fun part of this entire tutorial, because this is when you actually get to code, and all of the steps that you just did was just so you can actually run your script. So let's hope it starts soon. Okay, it could take a while. Until then, yeah, so I can go over the debugging steps until then, so that'll ensure that we can get started right away. Um, so now I'll be going to the 8th step, that's debugging. So what you need to do is for each of the steps, so I think I had mentioned that you need to ensure that this step has a continue. You uncheck the auto terminate button, and once the cluster is running, you need to open the TCP port to be able to SSH. So if you want to SSH into a machine, you need to ensure that there's a port open on the cluster that allows you to have a secure connection with your system. So how you do that is to select the security group of your master node. So here, when you scroll down to this page, it's bootstrapping, which means that you now know which server is your master node. So that's good. Okay, so now let's go to a security groups for master as specified here. So just select that. Once you select that, select your master node configuration, scroll down to the page and select inbound. So you're looking at all the inbound connections to your node. So you need to have this entry here, as you can see, an SSH type of connection, secure shell connection to using TCP protocol, and the port that you'll be connecting to is 22, and this is your source IP. So ensure that you have this. If it's not present in this list, then you would have to add it. So you just edit, and you would be able to add a rule, and add a new rule. So say, for example, I do this, and I'll be able to add a custom rule as specified. But I don't. But I already have that rule here. So ensure that this step is created by you if it's not already present, and then click save. So yeah, once you have your once you've enabled this SSH connection, you can go back. Okay, I can just go over EMR again. Okay, so my cluster is running and I know what system that's present on. So open your terminal and let me back up. So now you need to find where your, go to desktop. Yeah, so this is where I had stored my private key. And you can actually SSH in by looking at the code that they've provided. So Windows would have probably a different way to do it. I'm just going to go over how to go use it in like a Mac OS or Linux. Okay. This is not going to work. So I added, I just copied this entire SSH and pasted it here. But the path to my private key has to be modified. It's there on my desktop and it's present as this file. I think it's present as this. Okay. Yes. Okay, so you will definitely get this error saying that it has bad permissions. So you should, so let me just, okay, so change to desktop. So here what I'm going to do is change my permissions for my file. Okay, so I just made it 400, so it's not too open. And now let me try. Oh yeah, there you go, successful. So now I've SSH into my machine, and all I need to do is type peg and enter. And there you go, the grunt shell is open, and now I'll be able to debug all my code. So what is the advantage of this versus running the script by just uploading it, right? So if you upload your script, you don't know what's going to happen unless and until it actually executes all your steps. So I think by now it should have completed running it. Oh, it's already done. So you can see the cluster is ready and the last step failed. So I come here and I see that it's failed, and then you can go over your log. Okay. Safari is a bad idea because it doesn't enable pop-ups, but I'll be able to see. I'll actually want to show it to you, so let me open Google Chrome. Okay. Oh. Always. Okay. So I can just come over to my steps. I can go to my logs and just check out what exactly happened and where it failed. So here, I can see that it had some issue parsing a full stop. So yeah, I made that mistake on purpose. So my peg script had a couple of full stops and it couldn't parse this, but it probably parsed this line successfully. But so I won't know this unless and until I've actually run my script, and then I come back and then I see my logs. And if you're processing, like hundreds of GB of data, it could take hours before it actually fails and you're notified of it. So the best thing to do is to first learn how to SSH and run your peg script line by line. And once it runs successfully on a small data set, you just upload your script and just leave it running. And you don't have to SSH, and you can just come back after a few hours. You can log out and come back and check your results. So yeah, that's the recommended way to do it. So for a small data set, how I would do it if I were you is that, just ensure that you type every word and every code line by line into a text file, which is just a plain text editor. You can use Sublime. because there can be special characters, and you might face an issue what like you face in a sequel in the first assignment, where there might be special characters in the PDF and you face a lot of issues. So ensure you've typed everything in. But for now, I'm just copying and pasting it. This is a sample text line that was given in your code. And yeah, so these are just warnings. I don't have to worry about it. And there you go. It worked. One more thing you need to know is pig. In pig, there's lazy loading. What that means is that it looked like it just took 1 second for it to load the data, but it hasn't actually loaded the data. It's just processed that line. So I can perform a number of operations like group by, filter, reading, and so on, and it's just going to take just a fraction of a second because it hasn't yet processed the data. Only when I store the data or I ask it to output it. So say I can do initial limit 10. Okay, that was an incorrect code. Okay, so there are a number of peg operations that you can do. So say peg tutorial, which is given, this has been given in your PDF. But say I just want to limit 10. Okay, so I'll do limit data equal to initial limit initial 10. I think that's correct. Okay, so yeah, there you go. So it just ran. So you can keep running number of peg functions from say you're limiting the amount of data, you're probably filtering it, grouping it, and the number of tutorials that are available that you can refer to online, and the ones that we provided, and through that you would be able to perform a number of operations and solve the problem that's actually given in your document for homework 3. That's processing your bigram data, which is tab separated, and finding out the certain value based on all of these factors. So once you've done that, you can compare it against a sample data that we provided for the small data set. Can open that right here for you. So we've already provided the sample output that you need to get for the small data set. So once you run your script, and if you get this output, then you can just run it over the big data set as well. Okay. So coming back to this. So yeah, you run your script, and now when I finally assume that you've performed a number of operations and I finally want to store my data, and I click this is when it actually starts processing your data, because I've requested that I need to store my data. And now is when it's going to um, um, assign your task to your slave nodes and process the data and run MapReduce and compute the final output. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If I just leave this running, oh yeah, so the only disadvantage with this is that I cannot leave my laptop. I cannot go away from my laptop. I have to ensure that I stay and that my data, my output is produced. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so yeah, the step failed because this clearly does not exist. C6242. Yeah, so this is what we had created, right? So there you go. Oh yeah, there you go. It started running. So it could take a couple of minutes, about probably 10 to 15 minutes for it to run, and you can go over to the output folder, present, and check. and ensure that always you come back and you terminate your cluster in case you left it running. So that's all the steps that we have. There have been details provided on how you can run it using the interactive pick shell in the homework that I just showed you. If you don't select, if you don't want to use this method, you can just upload your script and just wait for the output to be generated. But it's a little harder to debug, but it's something that you should run on your larger data set because it could take a couple of hours. The data set is almost 60 times larger, um, which is given right here. Yes, it's almost 60 times larger, so it's recommended that you uh, upload the script for the larger data set. And the number of other options notes that you need to ensure you go through to avoid errors and ensure that you submit these deliverables. Okay, that's it. I hope this tutorial would be helpful. In case you have any issues, reach out to the TAs, ask questions on Piazza. You can come by TAs or email us. Thank you.